Hey everyone, it's Larson in the lab again, and today I'm doing part 2 of our stoichiometry lab. So yesterday we combined our materials, our initial lead nitrate and potassium iodide, and they did a reaction that formed a precipitate. So I'm going to put my goggles on since I am now in the lab setting, and I am going to show you what I have. So overnight, there was a bit of something going on with this. Yesterday, I had stirred my entire beaker full of our reaction, and it was all yellow all throughout. But now you can see it looks like a layer of water, and then the precipitate has come to the bottom of this beaker. And what I want to do today is I want to begin the process of figuring out how much precipitate was made in this reaction so that then we can think about that in terms of how much reactants we had, how much products we have, and did we get what we predicted. So here's the thing. I don't want to have to deal with all of this water. The precipitate separated down to the bottom of this beaker. And so I'm going to first do a step called decanting. And I'm going to decant the water off of the surface here and into this beaker for waste products. And I'm trying not to end up losing any of my products here, because if I dump the products into this beaker, I will have lost them. But so far, I have not dumped any products into this beaker. I'm being very careful here. All right, I was getting to the point where the products were getting close to going into that beaker. And so I'm going to stop the decanting process and I'm going to begin the filtration process. So in order to do filtration in chemistry, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be filtering off this liquid to catch the product that is there. And I have a filter paper to help me do that. So with filter paper, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to fold it in half again, and then I'm going to separate it so that there's 3 layers on one side and 1 on the other. I'm then going to stick this filter paper into a funnel that's going to go into an Erlenmeyer flask. Now, to make that filter paper stick to the funnel, I'm just going to put a little bit of distilled water from a squirt bottle to hold that funnel, or to hold that filter paper in place on my funnel. And I've done that. It takes a little while for liquid to go through the filter paper and through the funnel into the Erlenmeyer flask. So what it might happen is that I'm going to pour this in and it might become too full, and I might have to wait for that liquid to go ahead and filter through my filter paper and into my Erlenmeyer flask. And if that happens, I will pause the video and then resume it after that happens. So here I'm going to pour my product solution into here. My goal is to catch my precipitate in the funnel paper so that I can then eventually, once it's dried, find the mass. All right, I don't want this to overflow, so I'm going to give it a moment to go ahead and to begin dripping the water down into the Erlenmeyer flask. You might be able to see we are starting to get some of the product in our filter paper. We have to wait for the liquid to go through the filter paper into the Erlenmeyer flask. And like I said, sometimes that takes a little while. All right. I've got my liquid out of the beaker and I have some solid product left in there. I'm going to use this glass stirring rod to help get that solid into my filter paper you can see I'm still getting some solid out of my beaker where the reaction took place. Now, in order to get the rest of this solid to come out and go into my filter paper, I am going to use a little bit of this distilled water in my squirt bottle. So I'm going to hold on to this. I'm going to use this squirt bottle, wash bottle, to get the rest of my product to come out. Sometimes this can be a little tricky. Now, this water will not react with my product, so I'm actually able to go ahead and put this without worrying that there will be some sort of secondary reaction that would impact my results. But you can see I'm still getting a lot more solid. I'm going to repeat that process again here with my wash bottle. Again, this has water, which is not going to react with my product. I'm trying to get as much of the product out of my beaker as I can, because if I leave product in there, that's going to affect the calculations at the end of the lab where I'm calculating how much product was made. And I don't want to have less product in my calculations simply because it got left behind in my beaker. So I'm going to clean as much of it as I can out. But that's a good opportunity to talk about potential sources of error. So if I leave some of my product in this beaker because I'm unable to get it out, I would have a potential source of error in my lab in calculating the amount of product, because if I simply couldn't get all of my product out of the beaker, I wouldn't be able to measure it all. I can't just find the mass of it if I'm not able to get it out of the beaker. So I'm getting as much as I can out of the beaker right now. And then when that's done, I'm going to then unfold this filter paper, place it on top of this paper towel, and allow it to dry overnight. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video while some of this liquid filters out, so that then you can see when I'm going to be taking that filter paper out of the funnel and setting it out to dry overnight. Hey, and we're back. So what we did here was just give some time, and I paused the video so that you wouldn't have to sit there and watch, for the water to actually go through the filter paper and into the Erlenmeyer flask. So I just have a water solution down here in the Erlenmeyer flask. And currently this is how the funnel looks with the filter paper inside. It does have that yellow precipitate on it, and I want this to dry. So I want this to eventually be dry to the point that I could measure how much I have of the product using my electronic balance. So in order to help it dry, I am going to actually take the funnel out of the Erlenmeyer flask. I'm then going to take my filter paper out of the funnel very carefully to not spill anything. And now that I have my filter paper out of my funnel, I'm going to unfold that filter paper and I'm going to leave it to dry on my paper towel here. And I'm actually going to use my stirring rod to kind of spread it out so that it can have a better opportunity to dry here as well. And hopefully this will be dried tomorrow and I will be able to find the mass of what I have on my filter paper when I return to make you a new video. So this will sit here on the paper towel. It will dry, and hopefully tomorrow I will come back, find a dry product, and be able to find the mass of that dry product and share that with you. Thanks for listening.